Doing all right, actually.
Yeah.
A bit of jet lag, but I've been worse. That's me.
Just double checking.
Yeah.
Can I get my pen?
Yeah, of
Hey.
course. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, fire away. You first. You all, don't be shy. Anybody?
So I was going to say, at the panel you mentioned that you really enjoyed working with Bryan Cranston on Electric Dreams. Can you share one of your favorite moments, either of your episode, and it can be a scene or on set?
Well, it was all incredibly professional, and you're always a little worried going into these things because, I mean, Bryan's reputation precedes him. I mean, he's been nominated and won virtually everything that's available, and I would sit on the couch with my kids growing up watching Malcolm in the Middle, and then obviously on the Breaking Bad and all his other illustrious stuff, and his love of theatre, which he's still doing. I think any actor worth his salt would love a career like Bryan Cranston has. He's been doing it for a very long time, and he hasn't lost. What I saw, my favourite moments was because he's incredibly passionate about the project, and down to the finest details, talking to the director all the time, eking out whatever you can from a scene. And when you've got that level of passion, it's something to be incredibly admirable, especially when you've been in the business that long, because it's very easy to get complacent, especially when you're that successful. And he hasn't, and that's all we can all hope for as actors.
You mentioned being in the front row for Total Recall.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that Philip K. Dick's stories still resonate so much, like 50 and 60 years after?
Well, they're kind of universal themes, aren't they? It's slightly ironic for this particular writer to use dystopian future and robots and reality to deal with subjects that are so close to us as flesh and blood and human beings. You don't make the job easy for yourself. And what I really liked about doing that particular episode was it felt like almost a Rod Serling Twilight Zone kind of episode, and I mean that in the very best possible sense. Those kind of morality tales and parables and stuff like that, and yet it was self-contained in this hour. And again, I definitely have to mention Essie Davis has done an extraordinary job on this. It was a joy. I hadn't known her at all. I'd seen her work in obviously Babadook and on Game of Thrones, which she's wonderful in. But I think this is a glorious piece where there is. I mean, the episode is called "Human Is" for a very, very good reason, and it really does examine who we are, what makes us human, what separates us from other species.
What universal theme in your episode do you think is going to connect with people?
Well, human is. That's the whole. That's the theme. What does it? What makes us human? What separates us from some other people who just have psychopathic tendencies and the sociopaths of this world, who are. I mean, it's a little like the Game of Thrones thing. People who haven't seen it, sometimes I joke that it's about dragons and shadow babies, and you can see the shutters coming down. But in fact, it's about the nature of power. It's about family and legacy and jealousy and people's lack of humanity, which inevitably makes them unhappy and takes away our humanity.
I would say, like, in genre and in television in general, there's you're on Game of Thrones, like that's a really long planned arc, and then there's also a lot of these anthologies are now becoming really popular. Why do you think we're sort of doing more anthologies now, and what's the appeal of them?
Well, I think obviously you've got to when you're taking 10 short stories, there's the connection is Philip K. Dick, but they're individual short stories. So that's the way that's going to happen. You can't really spin that into a series.
The Man in the High Castle is one thing that they've spun into a series.
Yeah, I know, but they've taken one idea. But this is 10 different short stories with different characters. the anthology thing, I think what's interesting, it's like, as far as I know, this is going to drop early in the new year, the 10 of them together. So you do have an overriding theme. Obviously, it's Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams, but what's interesting is you can watch them as a bunch. It's like crudité. It's wonderful stuff. It's and there is obviously going to be common themes running through them, but it's a real flavour of what the man achieved as a writer, and I think that's incredibly interesting. And there's no reason why there's people say that we're talking about the golden age of television and that. I think there's so many studios now are making movies that are too big to fail, with the huge superhero things and all that, and good luck to them, they're making a lot of money on them. But I think there's a huge pool of talent, very, very clever writers and directors and various people who we're finding it increasingly different, who are filmmakers who are involved in cinema and just couldn't get anything off the ground, and even if they did get it made, they couldn't get it on screen. And I think some very clever television executives, and I don't mean just here, but I mean look at Denmark and Sweden with Killing and all that, brilliant television. I think people recognise that there was talent out there that with smaller budgets and very little interference, because the money wasn't huge, were allowed off the leash, and they've produced these beautiful pieces of art for your living room instead of a cinema, and I think that's to be applauded. I don't care where I get a story from as long as it's good.
I feel like that's a huge showcase for actors too, because you might some people might get lost on bigger shows, but when you get to do that standalone episode, like it really opens it up for people that might.
It's very nice. It's almost like a little theatrical thing, which is very cool. And also, there's nothing to assume that each of these 10 worlds that were created. If an audience takes one of those worlds to their heart, why not go and explore it? Like the Man on the High Castle, or that if something really appeals and perhaps has legs as a story, why not? There's plenty of conduits for these work. I mean, Apple they're getting involved in the deal, aren't they? Didn't they do something with $2 billion they're putting aside for content? And we've got Amazon are relatively new, Netflix are relatively new as well, HBO. So there's this pipe work will be screaming for content, and you're going to get a lot of dodgy stuff, mediocre stuff, and hopefully we get the odd little diamond that comes through, which is great for an audience.
Did you immerse yourself in Phil K. Dick's writing as you prepared?
I'm not a big one for that. I haven't read the Game of Thrones books for a very simple reason. I mean, the Bible for David and Dan is George Martin's work, and my Bible is the scripts. And I don't want those two. They're different worlds for me to use as a professional actor. Sure. So I stick with that. It's the same with this. I was handed this particular project, and obviously the attraction was I've had remarkable joy from Blade Runner and Total Recall and all those things when I was quite young, and loved that stuff, and loved the world, that bizarre alternative reality, and I defy anyone. It's a bit like doing a horror movie. I've been very happy doing a horror movie. If they're good, I don't care about genres. It depends how good the story is. And this is a gorgeous story with a gorgeous twist, and it's really nice. It's almost old-fashioned, but I mean that in a very, very good sense.
Yeah. So what's the twist?
I'm not telling you. Probably easy to find out. Read the short story. You haven't read it either.
I tend to think of these things too. They're kind of like old school, like Greek morality plays.
The parable, yeah, almost like a religious parable and all that, And that's what's interesting. I mean, if you look at Oedipus, what's the old cliche? What's the worst thing that can happen to a guy? Kills his dad and marries his mother. Let's write a fucking play about that. Do you know what I mean? You pick these very basic things, and you expand on them intellectually and artistically.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I mean, time to change. People don't, and they're kind of interesting. And isn't that our job as writers and actors and directors, to hold a mirror up to society and kind of be honest brokers about it? We shouldn't, people shouldn't take sides. Society takes sides against injustice. But we're not doing our job if we don't do that.
Are there any shows that you really like right now that you go home and really enjoy watching?
You know what? I invest so heavily in these things. I had to actually stop watching Breaking Bad because I was shooting Game of Thrones at the time, and as a relaxation, I would stick it on just to get my head out of that space. But I found myself investing so heavily that I was totally afraid of carrying over the emotions that I got off these shows because they're visceral and it's beautifully done. So I've actually I push stuff. I just watch a lot of documentaries and stuff when I'm filming, so I don't get infected with beautiful drama that I'm not involved in.
The documentaries to get you agitated also.
I know, but you can separate yourself because it's not drama. But yeah, you're right. But yeah, they can make you angry and whatever. But you don't feel like you're a character in the piece.
That investment you felt in Breaking Bad, does it make you now help you understand how fans feel about the stuff you do, their investment?
It's kind of weird. It's a bit like being in a band. You can't really you can't enjoy. You know, if you were in the Beatles, it's hard to be a fan of the Beatles. It's workman. Like you're writing the songs, you're doing all that. It's the same with us. You're dragged out of bed early in the morning of very long days, and your job is to focus on those precious minutes that you're actually between action and cut. And then after that, it's very weird. I mean, we work incredibly long hours and realise we've been given an opportunity to produce something that has hope. I mean, I've never really thought of legacy or anything like that, but I'd like to look back at 20 years and kind of go that when people are rediscovering Game of Thrones, a new generation is rediscovering it, that we can look at it and say we did it as best we possibly could, and we're proud of it. It'd be nice to walk away from it with that sort of thinking.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to wrap up. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, folks. Nice to meet you.